toge no june bedma june jesura koru kadra mambo gur jeji jesura drupji jinjila jesu so guru padmo Maras to shun. There are 6 kinds of maras that you are advised to shun. There is the mara of profit and fame, under whose influence you forsake your motivation for following the path to liberation, as well as the meditation and practice you undertake for the sake of others and instead practice for your own selfish reasons, including the desire for acclaim. There is the mara of arrogance, under whose influence your mind remains ordinary, without evolving at all, and yet you quibble about what sort of renunciation or realization pertains to spiritually advanced beings. There is the mara of laziness, under whose influence you continually put off developing one-pointed meditative stability, yet harbor the hope for some result. There is the mara of ambition, under whose influence you altogether avoid dwelling in solitude on mountainsides and become involved in the profit and loss of business. There is the mara of delusion, under whose influence you completely give up listening to and contemplating scriptures, lines of reasoning, and Pith instructions, and indulge in a fool's meditation, based on speculation and self-indulgence. There is the mara of envy, under whose influence you conceal your own faults deep within you, yet blame others for theirs, even though these are only your own projections. It is critical that your mind not be influenced by these maras. Precious Treasury of Pith instructions, Longchen Rabjam. Someone asked me what my t-shirt was about. It said, "I see you, Mara," made by my friend Matt Miner. And it has the eyes of the Buddha eyes, And the lady asked me, and I explained to her what kind of maras were, in that, it's the Buddha is under the Bodhi tree and working on enlightenment, and poof, dancing naked virgins. So he said, hey, I'm just going to touch the ground, I'm going to be grounded, and notice this as illusion. And as I was discussing it with her in terms of it's easy to say, well, everything is an illusion. It's very kind of stupidly new age. Easy to put labels on things, but, to see and experience the magical illusory nature of infinite phenomena as they manifest out of pure emptiness, well, it takes some training and some practice. But to see the maras is the dealio. If we don't see them and we think we are part of it, we can't even separate ourselves from it. This is Darren Littlejohn. Welcome to the 12-Step Buddhist Podcast, number 60, episode 60. And today's topic is, are your aces high? And continuing with practices of a Bodhisattva, number 18. Though gripped by poverty and always scorned, though stricken by disease and tormented by evil spirits, to take upon yourself the negativity and suffering of every being, and never to get discouraged, is the practice of a Bodhisattva. Again, aspiration, application, motivation, aspiration. We can conceptualize, but the thing is here, this blows your circuits. It blows your mental circuits. It blows your attachment circuit, really. Though even though you're starving and kicked like people throwing rocks at a dog in the street, even though you're a leper, and people are spitting on you, walking by you as you lay there, suffering with your leprosy and your starvation. And not to mention that you're also tormented by evil spirits all around you that no one else can see but you. So they all are attacking you for your mental illness as well. And then we have the opportunity to Tonglen, breathe in the negativity of all those beings that are causing this suffering, and to never get discouraged. Okay, it's the practice of a Bodhisattva. If we try to get it with our mind, it's dharmas are inexhaustible. These things, beginningless beginnings. There's so many ways to subvert or circumvent the executive mode, like we talked about last week. And the idea is to really practice this. Whatever you need to do to get you at the place where you're really feeling it. It's not going to work. And this is something I'm finding out recently about my own practice. And, I have to practice what I preach. Not to digress, but I have a neighbor who's, flat on his face, drunk a lot of the time. And, I really care about him and the little puppy dog, everything and so on. And I've been over there a few times, like a million times, really. Pick him up, drag him in, this and that. And then one day I was like, man, I can't do it. I'm going to hurt my back. And the thing is, I'm not picking up drunks. I'm sorry. I've done enough picking up drunks. And so this was a couple months ago. And the guy's yelled at me and he's told me, hey, get the fuck out and mind your own business and it's none of your business and this and that. And I said, well, okie dokie, from the program. I'm not trying to be where I'm asked not to be. I'm not trying to impose my help on someone or something like that. I'm just responding. The guy's got no power. I'll run over there and help him. Yeah, whatever. All these things. I don't know. I can't let somebody be in this sort of in this suffering if I can do something about it, obviously. But I was told not to. So, anyways, a friend of his over there comes over and just now and says, hey man, guy's drunk and, he got drunk and I want to get him in the house. And I had to explain the whole thing, man, 12/4/97, I'm coming up on 25 years without a drink of alcohol and, carry the message, not the mess. And I've been over there a bunch of times and I was told not to. And I just can't. I don't want to be involved with it now because I was told not to. And hey, the last thing I said to him is, Alcoholics Anonymous, buddy. I was saying, this is the other thing you can think about is try to get them to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting or something like that. So, that happens. So can I practice what I preach? There's a bunch of negativity and, I'm doing it as I'm thinking about it now, just breathing it in and, feeling like, God, this person has already kind of maybe got a lot of these disease kind of negativity and torment. But to not get discouraged, you got to have some kind of faith. You got to have some kind of understanding. You got to be able to, at least in the depth of your practice. So this is what I want to reiterate about practice for me, as I've realized something that I've missed something in the application, in terms of the length of time, the duration, the amount, the intensity, the effort, the commitment. Really, the commitment to apply myself to my practice is something that is at a different level now because I understand that it needs to be a lot more than I've been doing. And even though I thought I understood things before in my practice that's been going on for, many, many years, and I should think I would know something about myself, well, at times I've thought that I was more serious. And besides being in the daily practice group, I'm in 2 other intensives, and I'm trying to put in retreat time today. I put in about 4 hours so far in some kind of intense yoga practices and so forth. And so it's still just sort of giving me a taste of what I really need to do to apply myself to get the results. So again, what do we really expect? And I think I've had an arrogance most of my life that I should be able to put in a little bit of effort and get a lot result. I can take that all the way back to being a teenager and buying a Fender Stratocaster and a big fat Fender cabinet and playing with Jimi Hendrix really loud, and I never quite was able to master the guitar, and there were people who couldn't even really play that much who got super famous and good, and I was always kind of really wanting to know, why could I never realize that dream? And there's something that Carolyn Mace said, and she says, look, maybe your dream isn't a 30-minute a day dream. Maybe it's a 16-hour a day dream, 7 days a week. So don't daydream, work for the dream. And I don't know, I applied myself for a decade, and I finally said I'm going to do something else and got more into writing books and teaching yoga and all that stuff. So the idea is that we can apply ourselves, but with what measure ye meet shall be met unto you, saith the Lord. The Lord. You want to take some Bible principality, go back down to Emmett Fox and Ernest Holmes, see what you can dig up there. All right, Google this. NPR space ACES, ACES. Okay? And then start the quiz. All right? So we're going to do the quiz right now. If you're somewhere where you can't do it, pause this and come back in a bit when you can do it and think about this. Okay? All right. Assuming that you are ready for the quiz, it's pretty quick. Question 1 of 10. Before your 18th birthday, did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you, or act in a way that made you afraid that you might be physically hurt? Yes or no? I'm going to go ahead and say yes to that one. Before your 18th birthday, did a parent or other adult in the household often or very often push, grab, slap, or I don't even have to keep reading. Push, grab, slap, or throw something at you? See, it's a trigger to do the test, even though I know it already. So, or ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured? We're going to go give that a yes-rooney on that one. Before your 18th birthday, question 3. Did an adult or person at least 5 years older than you ever touch or fondle you, or have you touched their body in a sexual way, or attempt or actually have oral, anal, or vaginal intercourse with that one? I'm going to say yes, but of course I want to minimize it, right? But looking back on some experiences, I can say now, if that happened to my child or if that happened to you, if I saw that happening, I would say, oh my God. So, all right, going to question 4. You got to have some cojones to do this test. I mean, geez, I'm kind of getting lightheaded from complex PTSD just doing it with you. All right, so let's do it. Question 4. Before your 18th birthday, did you often or very often feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were important or special? Or your family didn't look out for each other, feel close to each other, or support each other? I got to give that a yes. Question 5. Before your 18th birthday, did you often or very often feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, had no one to protect you, or your parents were too drunk or high to take care of you or take you to the doctor if you needed it? I'm giving that a no. I wasn't in an active addiction household. Before your 18th birthday, was a biological parent ever lost to you through divorce, abandonment, or other reason? I'm giving that a no. I did not lose either biological parent. And if my dog is barking in the background, I'm sorry. They're just having their dog time. So, question 7 of 10. Before your 18th birthday, was your mother or stepmother often or very often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or had something thrown at her? Or sometimes often or very often kicked, bitten, hit with a fist, or hit with something hard? Or ever repeatedly hit over at least a few minutes or threatened with a gun or a knife? No. Before your 18th birthday, did you live with anyone who was a problem drinker or alcoholic or used street drugs? That's iffy. I can minimize it, but I'm going to give it a yes for reasons I don't need to explain to you. You don't need to explain yours to me, but I'm showing you kind of how it is to do the test. You kind of got to go, well, am I minimizing? Am I exaggerating? Be honest and give it your first answer. Okay, so before your 18th birthday, was a household member depressed or mentally ill, or did a household member attempt suicide? Yep. Before your 18th birthday, did a household member go to prison? That's a no for me. And it says here that my ACE score is 6. Now, I've done it other times with more questions, and it was a 9. So there's a little bit of variability in there. This is the quickest 10-question version, and you can find different versions. So you can see what adverse childhood experiences are from that. And I wrote about this extensively and started and began the story of recovery, rethought, reoriented, refreshed, with compassionate recovery, mindful healing for trauma and addictions. Available now anywhere you look for it. Just look for it. Just ask for it. The idea of ACEs as the beginning of the story of addiction is the beginning of the story of addiction. And I never had this answer before. No one could give me this answer. I had to find these answers to heal myself. And so that's how I wrote this. For you, to share with you how I'm working on this. And to understand your adverse childhood experience score. So there's a couple of things going on. I'm going to read just from the NPR. Well, actually, I don't want to read from the NPR. I want to read from acestoohigh.com. Now that you know your ACEs, what does it mean? The important thing to understand is that the study's researchers came up with an ACE score to explain a person's risk for chronic disease. Think of it as a cholesterol score for toxic stress. You get 1 point for each type of trauma. The higher your ACE score, the higher your risk of health and social problems. So put it this way, if you have an ACE score of 0, you're about a 2% risk of alcoholism, for example. One of the longitudinal studies. If you have an ACE score of 1, then you're about 6%. Almost 6%. If you have an ACE score of 2, you're more like 12%, 11%, something like that. And you go on up. If you have an ACE score of 4, you're 16% higher likelihood of somebody with an ACE score of 0. Your growth from ACE point to ACE point is exponential. And when you go, and it depends on which chart you're looking at, which thing you're measuring, to the degree of this. But the point is that by the time you're a 4, you're you're kind of off the charts already. And if you get higher than 4, you get further and further, reduced chances of being healthy, staying healthy, staying free and not being incarcerated, committing domestic violence, having all kinds of health problems, heart, blood pressure, depression, diabetes. I mean, the ACE study is monumental. People don't know about it, even though doctors are trained on it now. They still don't talk about it. So I'm talking about it because it's the key. I'll shout it from the rooftops. This is the key to understanding. For me, it's understanding my brain, what happened, why it's like it is what it is, so that I can have self-compassion. The understanding is what leads to the self-compassion. So now that you know what your ACE score is, we'll just read this paragraph. As your ACE score increases, so does the risk of disease, social, and emotional problems. With an ACE score of 4 or more, things start getting serious. The likelihood of chronic pulmonary lung disease increases 390%, hepatitis 240%, depression 460%, attempted suicide 1,220%. And yes, these studies have been redone in urban populations and so forth to reflect for racial disparities and even the earlier studies, but it can't be discounted. It's what's up. It's what's going on. So to understand our ACE score is to understand ourselves. Then we can kind of begin to have a reorientation. I mean, if this triggered you, talk to someone. It's, for all of us, hard work. I think that it's really, really difficult to reverse course in life, depending on how heavy your momentum is. But if we just stop, drop, and roll, drop the rock and join the parade, put the plug in the jug, quit with sucking on the crack pipe, get off the tip of the toxic narcissist, cut them loose, don't ever talk to them, think about them, don't ever give them the time. You want to know a good meditation? If you're stuck if you're OCD or obsessive about anything but, say, a toxic relationship, every time the thought comes up, let it dissolve into space. And you practice that. Well, it might take you 2 years of 8 hours a day. I don't know. Nobody knows. It won't work if you just try it for a minute. But it's a tool. I've applied it. It works. I'm free. Okay, I got free. of toxicity in the relationship. That doesn't mean I can't relight those circuits if I see a little honey that lights my triggers. Sad eyes, faraway look, pale skin. Okay, don't get me started. That's romanticizing your addiction. Yikes. With that, it's a great time for me to stop. Did you buy Compassionate Recovery for a friend? If you or someone you love is suffering from addiction or severe attachment that's causing problems, if you're a clinician, if you're a sober influencer, pick up Compassionate Recovery in any format. Take a look at it and send me some feedback. CompassionateRecovery.us is because it's not about me, it's about us. Peace out and namaste.